Hello, guys. Welcome back to my channel. So, a few days ago, our Prime Minister to be, unfortunately, Nigel Farage, went to go complain about the UK to its daddy, the United States, about not having free speech in this country. Just let that sink in. You went to go complain about the government to another country, and yet you complain about not having free speech. That literally being able to complain about your government to another country on a big platform literally shows how much free speech you have. But hey, maybe he does have compelling points. We're about to get right into this. If you're new to this channel, subscribe and also drop a like on the video.
Because that's what free speech is. And in a sense, this has all been going wrong now for a couple of decades. We've kind of forgotten the Voltairean principles that we'll fight and defend to the death your right to say something that we fundamentally disagree with. That is the absolute foundation, if you think about it, of free speech, of democracy, of living in freedom. It's kind of why we fought 2 world wars at massive, massive cost to defend that very principle for ourselves and for many, many others around the country. And I first became worried about all this with cancel culture. You know, the idea that we can't have this speaker go to a university because some people might be offended by what he or she have to say. It is important to note that there is not a parent in the United Kingdom, and I would guess it's the same for America too, that is not concerned about content their children as minors can find on the internet.
Okay.
Not a single parent that is not concerned about this.
Not bad.
But at the moment, we're not finding the right solutions. I do myself begin to think that hardware might be one of the solutions, that laptops, that handsets could be programmed so that many, many apps and many, many services simply aren't available from these devices. But what we've done is to go down the legislative route. And it's extraordinary that, you know, I come from the land of Magna Carta, I come from the land that gave us the mother of parliaments, and it doesn't give me any great joy to be sitting in America and describing the really awful authoritarian situation that we have now sunk into.
Obviously, there is referencing the Online Safety Act, right? Now, these people, right, just to let you know, these are the first people that will be first in line, these conservatives, to tell you pornography is bad, right? They will always be the ones, all these like sexual revolution, they will always be first in line to tell you how bad that actually is. Now that something is actually being done about it, you're saying it shouldn't be done through a legislative route. How can you possibly say that? If you do agree that pornography, things like prostitution, they're against abortion, all these things, if you believe they're so bad and the content online is really driving all these trans issues, all this wokeness that's really, like corrupting the young people, surely you would want the government to safeguard young people from being woke and seeing all these trans issues and consuming this content. But obviously, they don't actually believe in that. It's just scoring political points. Now, this Online Safety Act is done so it's far more difficult to access some of this like really toxic content for young people. Now, you can say they're probably gone a bit too far, but that's totally different. That's far more reasonable than saying it's authoritarian, it's totalitarian, it's trying to literally remove and reverse back democracy. How can you possibly say that? You can't possibly say the intention wasn't good. You could say the way they've conducted it wasn't good. Okay, then what you do there is actually find solutions to it. How do we make sure we actually restrict access to this kind of content that you don't want out there as a conservative Christian? How do you actually do it to make sure people are actually safeguarded, young people are safeguarded, but also it doesn't actually step too far? That should be the solution, not, yeah, well, it's gone too far, so therefore it was done because of authoritarianism. That literally makes no sense. If you truly care about young people not consuming this content, you would just want to find a solution to make sure it doesn't go too far. That's what you would do. But the intention isn't there to actually make it work. It's just to absolutely like talk as bad as possible about the whole situation so everyone can believe it's bad and then you can score score more political points. That's obviously why he's there right now.
J.D. Vance did us all a service at the Munich Security Conference back in February this year. He really got this debate up and running, and it's a vital one. We've run on since then. The Online Safety Act was put in place by the last Conservative government. I don't doubt for a minute they're good intentions, but sometimes the road to hell is paved with those good intentions. And we are now where we are. We have a couple of very famous cases. We, of course, have Lucy Connolly, who put out an intemperate tweet after the savage murder of those three beautiful young girls, she herself, a mother who had lost a child. It was intemperate, it was wrong, but she removed it.
I don't know why they keep referencing Lucy Connolly. Why do you keep referencing this as some sort of like salvation for people on the right? It's literally not. He literally just said it right there, what was wrong, and she removed it. Who cares if you removed it? Who cares? If I kill someone and I say sorry, or I remove everything that I used to kill that person, does that mean anything? No, the damage is done already. They keep saying, yeah, well, she deleted the tweet. Why did she delete the tweet? Probably because it was bad. Okay, if it's bad, then unfortunately, you do have to get the repercussions for it. They keep referencing that. I don't know why. This Lucy Connolly situation isn't this magnificent narrative that these people think it is. It really isn't. It just shows how stupid they are. If you break the law, regardless, even if you delete it within 3 hours, it doesn't matter. You've broken the law. You've done something. And then also, she pleaded guilty to it, which is far worse. It's like you decided to plead guilty to an offense. That's your fault. If you believe you were not in the wrong, don't plead guilty. Simple. And also, she apologized and she deleted it. If you didn't do anything wrong, why would you apologize and delete the tweet anyways?
3.5 hours later, sentenced to 31 months in prison. She's now out, having served 40% of the time. I wanted to bring her with me today as living proof of what can go wrong. Sadly, the restrictions that have been put on her banned her from making the trip, which is a very, very great shame. And we, of course, have the extraordinary events that we understood yesterday of Graham Linehan, the comedic writer, and he put out some tweets months ago when he was in Arizona, and months later he arrives at Heathrow Airport to be met by 5 armed police. Armed police, not a big deal in the USA, a very big deal in the United Kingdom. 5 of them. And he was arrested and taken away for questioning. He's not even a British citizen. He's an Irish citizen. This could happen to any American man or woman that goes to Heathrow that has said things online that the British government and British police don't like.
That's a bit far, okay? The whole arrest of the guy coming to airport, I definitely didn't agree with that. It was like very, very odd. But that absolutely, if you're talking to America about free speech being withheld from you, you're talking to the wrong country, okay? You are literally reporting to a country that has a president that's trying to literally sue a whole Harvard University because they're teaching woke ideologies, okay? He's just lost the case against Harvard recently, okay? You talking about free speech. Like, the president of the country that you're talking to literally is the opposite of what you're trying to actually make people believe in. It's hilarious because Democrats will literally tell you how bad free speech can be in this country, especially with who they have as the president in the country. They will literally tell you how much this guy goes against political opponents. It's incredible.
It is a potentially big threat to tech bosses, to many, many others. This legislation we've got will damage trade between our countries, threaten free speech across the West because
damage trade within the countries. Does this guy know what's happened over the last 2-3 months? The tariffs, by the way, your best friend, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, of the country you're talking to, he put a tariff on the United Kingdom, literally trying to damage the trade and the economy of the United Kingdom. Does this guy have memory loss or something? I don't think he actually realizes that.
Because of the knock-on rollout effects of this legislation from us or from the European Union. So I've come today as well to be a klaxon, to say to you, don't allow piece by piece this to happen here in America. And you would be doing us and yourselves and all freedom-loving people a favour if your politicians and your businesses said to the British government, you've simply got this wrong. At what point did we become North Korea? Well, I think the Irish comedy writer found that out 2 days ago.
North Korea. Do you think we can talk about the leader of North Korea and how North Korea is? Being a North Korean citizen, you can talk about North Korea the way you're talking about the United Kingdom. Just let that sink in. If you are someone that lives in North Korea and then you go online, big public space to talk about North Korea the way you're talking about it, what do you think happens? What do you think happens? Genuinely.
I wanted to ask you about your commitment to the freedom of speech universally. I think it's a principle that you advocate for everyone, not just for people who are in your party or people you agree with. You said that there should not have been a protest against the Gaza war in the UK. And then when it went ahead, the police refused to shut it down. You called them gutless for not shutting it down. Do you regret having opposed that, given that there was no violence there and there were 700,000 people who wanted to express themselves that day?
I have not opposed people standing up and protesting in favour of people living in Gaza at all. There was one particular day, and it was the Sunday nearest November the 11th, which was when we had big memorial services in London, and I think a march being allowed to go ahead on that day would have been a mistake. Any other day, fine.
Oh, I see. Who gets to decide that?
Well, I think actually something that is embedded in the country, something that is absolutely fundamental to vote.
That's why we have a written constitution. You might take that idea back to the UK with you.
Well,
because the freedom of speech applies 365 days a year here under the First Amendment, not 364, 363, depending on some politicians heckling the government and telling them to shut down.
We have
free
allowed.
speech.
So the freedom of speech, freedom to protest, but certain days, on a Sunday church service, we probably shouldn't protest. Oh, okay. Who gets to decide that? You. How convenient. How very convenient that is. Thank you very much.
We have allowed mass pro-Gaza demonstrations in London, weekend after weekend.
No thanks to you. All right, let me change.
This was
let me try another one.
particularly sensitive day.
Okay, it was just one sensitive day. Well, I guess those police that arrested that guy at the airport, it's just a sensitive day. It's just they were just having a bad day. Coincidentally, 5 of them just having a bad day. So, who's perfect? No one really is.
That's all.
I got you. It was a sensitive day. And I thought that's what the freedom of speech was about. You have a right to engage in speech that other people consider
Regardless
offensive or insensitive. But in any event, you've made yourself clear, Mr. Farage.
64 days a year if they want.
You've
Not
made
on
yourself
that day.
clear to your constituents in Claxton today. Let me ask you this. You've banned journalists from your political events that you disagree with, haven't you?
No, in fact, I'm the only political
Really?
leader
At your
in Britain.
convention, you didn't ban journalists and revoke their credentials?
I take the average press conference. I take 25 questions.
No, that wasn't my question. Mr. Farage, we're politicians, so we see what you're doing. I'm asking you a direct question.
Well, thank you. I'm very pleased
I'm
you
asking
do.
you a direct question, and I hope you can answer it. Why do you ban journalists who oppose your views from coming to your events? Why did you tell your party, why did you tell the local government not to do interviews with your local newspaper?
I am the most open person to any journalist.
Undoubtedly.
He's not going to answer the question. He's just not. He's just going to squirm his way around the question. Now that he's actually been caught in the contradiction, he's not going to answer the question. They're just asking you, why did you ban reporters from coming to your press conference? Well, I'm very, very open. No one cares. That's not what we're asking you.
You're the handsomest man in the world, but I'm asking you a different question, okay? That's not my question. My question for you is, and it's legit, why do you ban journalists that you disagree with from your political events, like from your convention?
I don't.
Okay, and you say you've never done that?
I can't think, if I go back the last 25 years, I can't think of banning anybody. But I mean, maybe somebody else did. But look,
I see. It was somebody else who did it.
It's just another bad day, It's just another bad day. We're just having another bad day that day. So, no one's perfect. We can all have bad days. So he was having a bad day.
I take more questions.
All right.
From journalists.
Do you have
all
any
the other
objections?
leaders added up together.
Okay.
So obviously, he went there to go and ask and report about free speech being bad in the UK, bad in Europe. America, you need to save us. Don't be like us. But he had no idea these people actually, they already have receipts. They already have his contradiction ready. He obviously didn't see it coming. That's why I said, oh, I must be having a bad day. I don't remember. I've never done it before. He didn't see it coming. But that just shows the hypocrisy that he's actually going there with. It's literally hypocrisy. If you don't believe you have free speech in this country, then maybe you do need to go to North Korea to actually see what having free speech is and what not having free speech is. Is it perfect? No. Which country is perfect with anything? There is no country that's perfect with anything. It's always going to be hard. But the discussion should always be around how do we make it better? Not, well, there is no free speech at all. If you believe there is no free speech in this country, then go to Russia and go to North Korea and go experience no free speech at all. But that's just my thoughts. If you're new around to this channel, subscribe and also drop a like on the video.